Alrighty, what I've been reading. I have two books for you, actually. One of which I completed, and the other one which I'm about a quarter of the way through that I recently started. But the first one is one that I heard recommended by Tim Ferriss of the Tim Ferriss Show, and it's The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. And it wasn't recommended not only by him, but several of his guests. Like I've heard it come up in the podcast enough times to take notice, and decided to give it a whirl, and I enjoyed it. I liked it. It's the type of book that I can see myself revisiting and getting something different from in the future, or just like reinforcing what I got from it the first time around. It's also one of the books that I believe Tim Ferriss said that he reads like once a year or once a quarter. I forget like how often, but he reads it frequently. And although I would definitely revisit it and plan to sometime in the future, I don't think it's that type of book for me personally. But just to give you an idea of what it's about and what I got from it, I'm going to first read you what the four agreements are, and then I'm going to play for you a little clip that resonated with me. The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. Agreement number 1 is be impeccable with your word. And to me, that agreement is pretty much like a mean what you say and say what you mean type of approach. And obviously in the book, he fleshes them out, each of the agreements out in several different ways with different metaphors and examples. Agreement number 2 is don't take things personally. I think that's self-explanatory. Agreement number 3 is don't make assumptions. That one's also pretty self-explanatory. And the fourth agreement is always do your best. Now, these seem like very bedrock, foundational, like no shit Sherlock type of statements. But in the book, he helps you realize how often we like take these things for granted and don't live by these four agreements, but should be living by the four agreements. Should be practicing them. All right, now here's the clip that I want to play for you guys that I'm going to attempt to play from my phone. So, from my phone into the microphone that I'm recording this podcast on. Let's see how that works out.
The freedom we're looking for is the freedom to be ourselves, to express ourselves. But if we look at our lives, we'll see that most of the time we do things just to please others, just to be accepted by others, rather than living our lives to please ourselves. That is what's happened to our freedom. And we see in our society and all the societies around the world that for every 1,000 people, 999 are completely domesticated. The worst part is that most of us are not even aware that we are not free. There's something inside us that whispers to us that we're not free, but we do not understand what it is and why we are not free. The problem with most people is that they live their lives and never discover that the judge and the victim rule their mind, and therefore they don't have a chance to be free. The first step toward personal freedom is awareness.
And then it goes on from there to flesh out why awareness is the first step, and et cetera, et cetera. And it gives other steps and reasonings behind it. And I think it's a dope read. I definitely recommend it. You guys should check it out. I will link to it in the episode notes to make it easier for you. And again, it's called The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. I'm fucking Hispanic. God damn it. Let me say that again. Don Miguel Ruiz.